The ambassador's arrival. The crystalline spires of Nethoria's capital gleamed like frozen flames against the violet sky as Commander Elias Thorne's shuttle descended through the atmosphere. His heart hammered against his ribs, not from fear of the diplomatic mission ahead, but from the knowledge that Earth's future among the stars rested on his shoulders. Final approach to the Conclave landing platform, the navigation system announced. Preparing for atmospheric adjustment. Elias straightened his midnight blue uniform, the silver Earth emblem catching the alien light streaming through the viewport. 6 months of intensive preparation had barely prepared him for this moment, humanity's first invitation to the Galactic Conclave, a gathering of the 12 most advanced civilizations in the known universe. The shuttle doors hissed open, releasing a wash of sweet, unfamiliar air that made his head swim momentarily. A delegation of tall, elegant Nethorians waited on the platform, their ceremonial robes floating like liquid silver around their forms. "Commander Thorne," a melodious voice spoke as a figure stepped forward. "I am Jarrell, First Minister to Her Luminance. Welcome to our world," Elias bowed as he'd been instructed. "I bring greetings from Earth and gratitude for your invitation." The procession through the city left him breathless. Buildings of impossible architecture flowed like water frozen in mid-dance, while Nethorian citizens with their characteristic grace watched him pass with curious eyes. The grand hall of the conclave opened before him, a cathedral of light where representatives from across the galaxy gathered. Species of every imaginable form engaged in quiet conversation, some floating, others moving on multiple limbs, all turning briefly to observe the human newcomer. "The Empress approaches," Jarrell whispered, and the entire hall fell silent. She appeared like a vision from another realm entirely. Empress Lyra Vex glided forward, her skin a rich purple that seemed to hold galaxies within its depth. Her eyes, brilliant amber against that extraordinary complexion, found his immediately. "Commander Elias Thorne," she spoke, and her voice resonated in his chest as if she'd touched him physically. "You honor us with Earth's presence." "The honor is mine, Your Luminance," he responded, finding his voice despite the sudden dryness in his throat. A subtle smile curved her lips. "You arrive at an auspicious time. Tonight begins the Festival of Convergence, celebrating the alignment of our 3 moons. You will join me as my special guest." It wasn't a question, and Elias felt the weight of every gaze in the room. He inclined his head in acceptance, acutely aware that his first night on Nethoria would be spent beside the most powerful being in this sector of the galaxy. "Until tonight," Lyra said softly, her fingers briefly extending toward him in the traditional Nethorian greeting before she withdrew, surrounded once more by her entourage. Jarrell leaned close. "She rarely grants such immediate favor to new ambassadors. You have made quite an impression, Commander." Elias watched her retreating form, wondering what test awaited him tonight, and whether humanity's future depended on how well he performed. The Garden of Desires, the Festival of Convergence, transformed Nethoria's capital into a dreamscape. 3 moons hung like jewels in the night sky, casting prismatic light across the palace gardens where the celebration unfolded. Elias moved through the gathering with careful diplomacy, aware of curious glances from beings whose forms defied Earth's understanding of life. "Overwhelmed, Commander?" Empress Lyra materialized beside him, her purple skin luminescent in the moonlight. The formal imperial crown was gone, replaced by a simple circlet of shifting starlight that framed her face. "Adapting, Your Luminance," Elias replied, taking in her elegant form. She wore flowing robes that seemed woven from the night sky itself, revealing glimpses of her shoulders and arms as she moved. Lyra guided him through a hidden archway into a secluded section of the garden. "This is the alcove of truth, reserved for imperial ceremonies. Tonight, it serves us." The space was breathtaking. Exotic flowers pulsed with bioluminescence, while floating orbs of light drifted between trees whose leaves shimmered like liquid silver. At the center stood a circular reflecting pool, its surface perfectly mirroring the triple moons above. "It's tradition during Convergence to honor distinguished visitors with a gift," Lyra said, gesturing toward the gathering. Ethereal beings moved through the garden, some with features of such beauty they seemed painful to behold. The companionship of any being in my court for the duration of your stay. It's considered our highest honor. Elias noticed how guards and ministers watched with knowing smiles. This was clearly more than simple hospitality. It was a test. You may choose freely, she continued, her amber eyes holding his. Some ambassadors select for beauty, others for intellectual connection. Some make alliances through their choices. A teasing note entered her voice. You can have any woman here, Commander. Around them, exquisite beings, some humanoid, others beautifully alien, turned toward him with inviting smiles. Ministers, artists, scientists, all clearly part of this elaborate tradition. Elias met Lyra's gaze steadily. The diplomatic manuals had warned about cultural misunderstandings, about the importance of accepting Nethorian hospitality. But something in her eyes, a loneliness he recognized from his own reflection, made him set aside caution. I only want you, he said quietly. The garden fell silent. A minister dropped a crystalline glass that shattered musically against the ground. Lyra's composed expression faltered for just a moment, genuine surprise flickering across her features. You misunderstand the tradition, she recovered smoothly. The Empress is not among the offerings. Then I respectfully decline, Elias replied. On Earth, we believe in choosing with our hearts, not our eyes. Something unreadable passed through her expression. How fascinating, and potentially foolish. She stepped closer, close enough that he could see the subtle patterns that swirled beneath her purple skin. No one has ever refused the choosing. I'm not refusing, Elias clarified. I'm choosing what isn't offered. Lyra studied him for a long moment before a subtle smile curved her lips. Then you shall have an interesting stay on Nethoria, Commander Thorn. Perhaps more interesting than you anticipated. Trials of the Heart. 3 days passed in a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, technological exchanges, and elaborate ceremonies that left Elias's head spinning. Throughout it all, Empress Lyra remained coolly professional, though he occasionally caught her watching him with curious intensity when she thought his attention was elsewhere. On the 4th night, a handmaiden appeared at his quarters. Her luminance requests your presence in the Crystal Observatory, alone. The observatory crowned the highest tower of the palace, a dome of transparent material that seemed to vanish entirely, leaving nothing between occupants and the star-filled void above. Lyra stood alone at its center, her back to him as she gazed upward. You've caused quite the stir among my court, Commander, she said without turning. Some believe you planned your refusal as a political maneuver. And what do you believe? Elias asked, moving to stand beside her. She turned, her amber eyes searching his face. I believe you are either extraordinarily sincere or dangerously clever. With a gesture of her hand, the room transformed. Suddenly, they stood in what appeared to be an earth forest, sunlight filtering through leaves. A woman approached, human, beautiful, achingly familiar. Elias, the illusion called, wearing the face of Elias's former fiancée. I've waited for you. He flinched, but kept his eyes on Lyra. An impressive display of technology. Not technology, Lyra corrected. Nethorian empresses can manifest thoughts into temporary reality. I simply pulled her from your memories. She stepped closer. She still loves you. You could have her back. You're testing me, Elias realized. Why? The illusion faded, replaced by a perfect replica of Lyra herself. Only this version wore an inviting smile, arms outstretched toward him. Perhaps I'm curious. Here, a version of me without imperial responsibilities, without the burdens of leadership. She can give you everything I cannot. Elias walked past the duplicate to stand before the real Lyra. I didn't choose you because of what you could give me. I chose you because behind your imperial mask I see someone who understands loneliness as I do. The duplicate vanished, leaving them alone beneath the stars. 300 years, Lyra whispered. That's how long Nethorian empresses rule. 3 centuries of keeping everyone at a distance, because tradition demands it. 3 centuries without genuine connection. She stepped closer, her fingertips almost touching his. And then you arrive, looking at me as though you see past everything. I do, Elias said softly. Her hand finally met his, purple skin against tan, their fingers intertwining. The conclave ends in 7 days. What then, Commander Thorne? I don't know, he admitted. But I'd rather have 7 days of something real than a lifetime with an illusion. Lyra's free hand rose to touch his face, her eyes filled with conflict. Then we have 7 days to discover if what you feel is truly for me, or merely for the idea of me. Under the watching stars, she leaned forward until their foreheads touched. A gesture of profound intimacy in Nethorian culture, and I have 7 days to remember what it means to be more than an empress. Forbidden whispers. The final days of the conclave became a delicate dance between duty and desire. By day, Elias represented Earth with diplomatic precision, negotiating trade agreements and cultural exchanges with the 12 civilizations. By night, he and Lyra stole precious moments away from watchful eyes. The ministers are beginning to talk, Lyra said, as they walked through the moonlit Royal Arboretum, her guard strategically positioned just out of earshot. The purple hue of her skin seemed to absorb the silver moonlight, making her glow from within. Let them, Elias replied, his hand brushing against hers between steps. Even this simple contact sent electricity through his veins. Unless their talk concerns you? She smiled ruefully. 3 centuries of tradition are difficult to challenge. The Nethorian imperial line remains untouched by outside influence. It's how we've maintained our cultural continuity through millennia. They paused beneath a tree whose branches curved like perfect mathematical equations, its leaves releasing soft chimes when touched by the evening breeze. Show me your world, Lyra whispered suddenly. Not through reports or data exchanges. Show me through your eyes. Elias hesitated only a moment before describing the sunrise over Earth's oceans. The feeling of rain against skin, the chaotic beauty of human cities where planning and chance created unexpected harmony. As he spoke, Lyra closed her eyes, and the air around them shimmered. The arboretum faded, replaced by a perfect recreation of a coastal sunrise. Waves crashed against shores that weren't really there, gulls called overhead, and the scent of salt filled the air, all manifested from his memories through her extraordinary ability. It's beautiful, she breathed, turning slowly to take in the illusion she'd created from his words. So different from Nethoria's ordered perfection. Elias watched her experience his world with childlike wonder, and something broke open in his chest. Before he could reconsider, he stepped forward and kissed her. For one terrible moment, she stiffened in surprise. Then her arms wrapped around him, her lips responding with unexpected hunger. The illusory earth scene intensified around them, waves crashing higher, wind whipping through phantom trees, reflecting the emotional storm between them. When they finally parted, breathless, the illusion collapsed like mist, returning them to the reality of Nethoria's garden. That was... Lyra touched her lips, looking genuinely shaken for the first time since he'd met her. I'm sorry if I overstepped, Elias began, but she silenced him with a finger against his lips. In 300 years, no one has dared to see me as simply a woman, she said softly. You don't tremble before the Empress. You don't calculate what I might give you. You simply want me. A distant chime sounded, signaling an approaching minister. Lyra stepped back reluctantly. 2 more days, she whispered. 2 days until you return to Earth and I remain here, bound by duty and tradition. Elias caught her hand. Come with me, her eyes widened. You know I cannot. Then let me stay. A shadow passed over her face. The Imperial barrier prevents it. No outsider may remain in the Empress's presence beyond the conclave. It's the law that has preserved our lineage for millennia. The minister rounded the corner, forcing them apart. As Lyra composed her features into imperial neutrality, Elias saw the weight of her position settle back onto her shoulders like a physical burden. Tomorrow, she murmured before gliding away. Meet me in the observatory at midnight. There's something I must show you. Beyond the stars, the final night of the conclave arrived with ceremonial grandeur. Representatives from 12 worlds exchanged parting gifts, signed treaties, and made promises of future cooperation. Earth had been formally welcomed into the galactic community, Elias's mission a resounding success. Yet as he stood among celebrating diplomats, all he could think about was midnight. When the hour finally came, he slipped away to the crystal observatory. Lyra waited, silhouetted against the stars, her imperial regalia replaced by a simple white gown that left her purple shoulders bare. "I've been researching Earth customs," she said as he approached. "You express commitment through exchanges of jewelry and vows." "Among other things," Elias replied cautiously. She smiled. "Our ways are different." She gestured upward, where the three moons aligned perfectly, bathing the observatory in tri-colored light. "The convergence ends tonight. With it, so does your official welcome on Nethoria." Payne tightened his chest. "I know. What I'm about to show you, no outsider has ever seen." She extended her hand, and when he took it, the observatory dissolved around them. They stood on what appeared to be a bridge of pure light, stretching between stars. Below them, Nethoria gleamed like a jewel, above endless cosmos. "This isn't an illusion," Lyra explained, her voice echoing strangely. "This is the pathway, how Nethorian rulers have traveled instantaneously across our empire for millennia. The ability to access it is born in our bloodline." Elias stared in wonder. "It's incredible. And it's the reason for our isolation." Her eyes held his. "The power to walk between worlds must never fall into hands that would misuse it."
For 20,000 years that fear has kept us separate, lonely, watching life from behind the barriers of tradition. She stepped closer.
"I've spent every moment since we met searching our history, our laws. There is one precedent set by Empress Vala in our earliest days. She declared that when a ruler finds one who chooses her for herself alone, not for power or advantage, the barrier may be crossed." Hope surged through Elias. "What does that mean?" "It means I've made my choice." Lyra's fingers intertwined with his. "The pathway recognizes intent and heart. If you truly choose me, not the Empress, not the power, but me, it will accept you. We can move between your world and mine, together, and if it doesn't accept me..." Her expression grew solemn. "Then we say goodbye tonight." Elias took a deep breath and squeezed her hand. "How do we begin?" "Like this." She leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his as she had in the observatory days ago. This time, however, the contact sent a surge of energy coursing through his body. The pathway beneath them pulsed, light flowing up through their joined hands, encircling them both. For one terrifying moment, it constricted like a living thing examining an intruder. Then, slowly, it expanded to encompass them both equally. Lyra's eyes flew open, filled with wonder. "It accepts you. What now?" Elias asked, his heart pounding. She smiled, tears of joy catching the starlight. "Now we choose. Your world, my world, or moving between them. The pathway will take us anywhere our hearts desire." "I don't care where we go," Elias said, drawing her closer. "As long as we're together." Lyra's laugh echoed across the stars as she wrapped her arms around him. "Then let me choose you too." The pathway brightened around them, responding to their shared joy. As their lips met, the light enveloped them completely, carrying Earth's ambassador and Nethoria's empress toward a future neither had imagined possible, one where distance meant nothing compared to the bond between two hearts that had recognized each other across the stars. In that moment, not as leaders of worlds, but simply as two beings who had found each other, they stepped into the unknown together, writing a new chapter in the history of both their civilizations.